Welcome back, everyone. If you've ever been looked down on, underestimated, or made to feel like you're not good enough by the people who are supposed to love you, then you know the ache I'm talking about. That deep, quiet burn of injustice. And you probably, in your darkest moments, dream of the day they finally get what's coming to them. Well, today's story is for you. It's a masterclass in quiet patience and explosive, undeniable payback. So if you're ready for a story of emotional revenge so satisfying it'll have you holding your breath, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's get started. Let me paint you a picture of my life. Not as it is now, but as it was in my family. Success wasn't a goal, it was a uniform. You wore it or you were naked. My cousins, they were walking, talking LinkedIn profiles. Doctors, professors, creatives with art shows in Soho. And then there was me. I made a series of smart, quiet business moves in my early 20s. Nothing flashy, no venture capital, no daddy's money. Just a steady, reliable passive income stream that, combined with chill part-time job at a local cafe, allowed me to live a comfortable, peaceful life in a one-bedroom in New York City. I had time for my partner, for hobbies, for just breathing. To me, that was wealth. But to my family, especially my parents, it was a poverty of ambition. I wasn't struggling gloriously towards some pinnacle. I was just content, and in their world. Contentment was a sin. It was proof I wasn't pushing myself. And the chief prosecutor in the trial of my life? My cousin, Randy. Oh, Randy. Imagine every entitled finance bro stereotype, inject it with steroids and give it trust fund. He didn't build a thing. He occupied a fancy title at his father's company, but he wore his faux success like emperor's robes, and he reserved his most cutting commentary for me. It wasn't just, what are you up to? It was a sustained campaign of emotional erosion. I want you to feel this, not just hear it. So let's zoom in. Thanksgiving, 2 years before the photographs. The air is thick with the smell of pie and unspoken competition. Randy holds a glass of expensive scotch, holding forth on some deal. I want you to feel this, not just hear it. So let's zoom in. Thanksgiving, 2 years before the photographs. The air is thick with the smell of pie and unspoken competition. Randy holds a glass of expensive scotch, holding forth on some deal. Randy. And that's when I close the 7-figure handshake. Just like that. He turns to me, a shark smile. So, 'cause heard you're still at that, what is it? A coffee shop, slinging lattes to hipsters? And you're still with that girl? Jessica, right? The one with the... He makes a vague, pudgy stomach gesture. Man, when are you going to do something with your life? I'd feel so worthless. The table goes quiet for a beat, then someone nervously laughs it off. My mother looks at her plate. My father clears his throat and changes the subject. My skin feels 2 sizes too small, hot and tight. My stomach is a block of ice. The message is crystal clear. My existence is a gentle disappointment. Randy's is a targeted strike. And the family audience? They're complicit. They enable it with their silence. I learned to tune it out, to build a soundproof room inside my head where I live with my loving partner and my simple, happy truths. But soundproofing isn't the same as demolition. The walls were still getting chipped away, brick by brick. The day it all changed was unremarkable. Just another sunny afternoon in Manhattan. I was walking, lost in my own thoughts, when a familiar laugh cut through the city buzz. There he was, Randy, in a sharp suit, supposedly on a business trip. But he wasn't with colleagues. He was with a woman who was very, very clearly not his wife. Their body language was a novel. Her arm linked in his, her head thrown back in laughter, his hand possessive on the small of her back. An intimate, closed loop of 2 people. A cold, electric curiosity shot through me. This wasn't anger, not yet. It was a detachment of a researcher who's just found a fatal flaw in a prize theory. I pulled out my phone, checked his Facebook. A post from an hour ago. Nothing like a real NYC bagel. Business trips have their perks. The lie was so brazen, so casual. It was the same arrogance he used to belittle me, now turned on his wife, his children, his entire manufactured image. and something in me snapped into focus. This wasn't about hurting him anymore. This was about truth. For years, he'd painted me as the flawed one, the failure. But here in the harsh sunlight was his rotting core. I decided, in that instant, to document it. I followed them for 5 hours. I felt like a ghost, a shadow they cast without knowing. The adrenaline was a steady hum, not a rush. I watched them window shop, watched him buy her jewelry, watched the easy, stolen intimacy that belonged to his family. My phone camera was my notebook. Click, entering a boutique. Click, sharing an ice cream. Click, the final, damning shot. The two of them hand in hand, disappearing to the polished brass doors of boutique hotel. I got the name in the frame. The evidence was incontrovertible. Then came the hardest part, the wait. I sat on those photos for 6 months. Through family barbecues where Randy would smirk at me. Through phone calls from my mom asking if I'd considered going back to school. I let the pressure build, not in me, but in the situation. I needed the perfect stage. And I found it. Christmas dinner. The house was decked out in oppressive cheer. Twinkling lights, a towering tree, the cacophony of family gossip. Randy was there, of course, playing the magnanimous patriarch in training, bragging about a new car. His wife, sweet and oblivious, was refilling drinks. The kids were running around. The air was thick with the same old judgments, now just white noise to me. I felt the weight of the envelope in my inner jacket pocket. It felt like a heartbeat. I didn't make a speech. I didn't call for attention. That was his style. I was the black sheep, remember? Quiet, unassuming. I simply stood up, walked ahead of the table where Randy and his parents sat, and placed the unsealed envelope in the center of the pristine white tablecloth, next to the gravy boat. Me calmly, to Randy's wife, I thought you should see these. I found them last June. I turned and walked back to my seat. The next 60 seconds unfolded in slow motion. Randy's wife, curious, pulled out the stack. Her smile melted. Then her face itself seemed to dissolve into confusion. Then horror. A sharp, animal-like gasp escaped her. She dropped the photos like they were on fire. They scattered across the tablecloth, glossy 4x6 testaments to betrayal. One landed in the salad. Another fluttered to the floor. Silence. Then a volcano. Randy's wife screaming. What is this? Who is she? Randy, where did you get these? It's not what it looks like. They're photoshopped. He's a liar. He was pointing a trembling finger at me, but his eyes were darting to every family member, seeing his credibility evaporate in real time. The table erupted, shouting, accusations. The kids started crying. And then Randy's father, my uncle, a man who built the pedestal his son stood on, saw his legacy crumbling. He didn't go for Randy. He came for me. With a roar of pure defensive rage, he launched himself across the table, sending china flying, and his fist connected with my eye in a burst of white-hot pain. Chaos. Absolute chaos. My soul was at my side in an instant. Someone called the police. The flashing red and blue lights painted the festive house in strokes of crime scene urgency. Through the throbbing in my face, I gave my statement, calm and clear, while Randy spluttered and lied the officers. We were told to leave. As we walked out into the cold, silent Christmas night, the sound of family destroying itself echoing behind us, I felt clean. For the first time in my adult life, the air felt clean. The aftermath was my satisfaction, served cold over years. My family, the great enablers, chose their narrative. They cut me off. My own parents, who'd watched me be demeaned for a decade, said I'd ruined Christmas and torn the family apart. The irony was so thick you could choke on it. They weren't mourning Randy's betrayal. They were mourning the shattering of their comfortable illusion. The black sheep had broken the pretty fence. Let them stew. But the truth has a ripple effect. Randy's wife, now ex-wife, saw the monster. She divorced him. When he threatened her in his rage, he lost all custody of his children. My family would occasionally send flying monkeys to guilt me. Can't you just apologize for the way you did it, for the sake of family? My response was always a variation of, I will never apologize for telling the truth about a cheating cunt. Click. Blocked. Peace for another few months. But the real payoff? The beautiful, unexpected justice? My soul and I grew stronger. We got married. And at our small, joyful wedding, 2 very special guests were there. Randy's ex-wife and her kids. She and my now spouse are best friends. Her kids, they call me uncle. They run up to me for hugs. No conditions, no comparisons. I have a family now. A real one. Built on loyalty and truth, not on blood and bullshit. The final, delicious twist? When my biological family heard about my wedding. When they saw pictures of this new, happy, loving unit I'd built without them, that's when the calls started again. This time, they were nice. They were checking in. The realization had finally dawned on them. Their punching bag had packed up, left the gym, and was living a beautiful life miles away from their fists. And the silence where their criticism used to be? That's the sound of my victory. So, what's the lesson here? Maybe it's that sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is burn a bridge, especially if the people on the other side keep trying to set you on fire. My revenge wasn't just about exposing a cheater. It was about exposing an entire toxic system. It was me finally standing up and saying, I see you, and I am not playing this game anymore. The cost was high, but the price of staying silent, of letting them define me forever, would have been infinitely higher. If this story of quiet resilience and ultimate vindication resonated with you, if it felt that good to see the bully finally get floored by the weight of his own lies, then do me a favor. Smash that like button. It lets me know you're here for these powerful journeys. Tell me in the comments, what's a moment you stood your ground against someone who underestimated you? And of course, subscribe and hit the notification bell. We got so many more stories of karma, justice, and people finally getting exactly what they deserve. Thanks for watching. Until next time,